Hello and welcome to episode 119 of Third and Wrong. I'm your co-host Stephen Bullen, and I'm joined as always by Zach Foth. We're super fired up to have the founder of Game Primed Quarterbacks, Danté Djan. Dante, how's it going, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys. This is great.
Awesome, Dante. Let's take a step back and go all the way to the beginning. What got you into football, and what transitioned throughout your journey to want to give back and begin coaching the next generation of Canadian quarterbacks?
Man, so getting into football. Growing up Calgary kid. Played everything, man. Whether it's football, basketball, hockey, soccer, everything. And then slowly, kind of as the years went down, slowly sports would knock off. Hockey fell off, soccer knocked off, and then it's kind of football, basketball, and then really kind of started going towards football. So, really fell in love with the game, especially through high school, and really started taking it more serious, and it's kind of stuck from there, and then into the university level.
I honestly, it's so cool having a quarterback coach and a past quarterback here on the show. I'm a quarterback lover. I played high school, was trash in high school, and then as our listeners know, but I'm really curious on what inspired you to start Game Prime Quarterbacks.
Well, to get started, actually, so it was last spring when I was back in Calgary, kind of came back after COVID and all that, and was back on the field just throwing with some guys and some young high school quarterbacks that I knew. Was out there and actually ran into Keon Raymond with Big Time.
Right.
So he invited me out. This was the spring of 2020. Asked me to come coach a camp for him. Went and coached the camp. Went great. Met a couple quarterbacks while I was there, and then was talking to Keon. He wanted me to do another one, and then slowly, started meeting more quarterbacks, and then they started messaging me more and wanted to, do some more training, stuff like that. Started getting more feedback from the parents. They were loving the training, stuff like that. So, that kind of took me through that summer, and I was just doing the training on the side. Wasn't really, broadcasting or putting on social media or anything. And then, slowly I'm looking at my emails. I'm getting emails from this parent. Oh, we heard about your camp from so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, so-and-so said, okay, cool. So kind of slowly, gaining more of, family quarterbacks I was working with. And then, finished coaching 7-on-7 last year. Got more into the coaching as obviously the high school season got canceled, which was, pretty devastating for a lot of those high school quarterbacks. But, obviously a lot of them still want to progress their game. So, got out in the field. I love just being out in the field in general, throwing, and brought those guys out, started doing a lot more training. Was putting a little bit on my social media. And then a good friend of mine, you guys actually had on, Tyler Nickel, reached out to me. It was like, man, why don't you, looks like you got something going on. I've always been kind of following what he's been doing with Throwco. Why don't you grow this? And at the time, I'm like, I don't know if this is something, that I want to do, or like kind of, right now it's just kind of like a little side thing or something like that. So, but he kind of talked to me and kind of, was a great mentor for me and taught me a lot, how to grow this and how, to understand more about, the mechanics of a quarterback and throwing and stuff like that. And then from there really took off. So me and Ellie Buka, who was out here training receivers, connected, and December kind of set up a camp for guys. I launched Game Prime. So we had a camp that ran 3 days a week, and I was doing individual training on the side. And then since really January, it's just taken off. Probably started with like 5-10 quarterbacks. Now I've probably worked up with about 25, 30 and got 20 guys I'm consistent with and built programs for. So, it's been great.
That's amazing, man. And it's cool to see like how tight knit the football community is, even with like Tyler Nickel, who's based all the way in, I think, Auburn, Washington, to be reaching out, has his roots in Calgary, obviously. So really, really cool to see how that all progressed.
For sure. And like, he's been great too, even just looking out for Calgary guys still, like him being in the States and, reaching out to me and, giving me the opportunity to, see something that I could help out in. And I didn't even realize, that this is something I wanted to do, but, he's been great, and big props to him. So.
That's awesome. When you're talking to these young quarterbacks and stuff, how much are you leaning on that experience that you had in youth sports? And can you talk a little bit about your experience with Coach Ryan Sheahan? We had him over on the podcast over a year ago now. We want to have him back on. But, what was that like being at the University of Guelph? And I believe you're at Laval as well. And just kind of that next step from the high school level that you
for sure. Man, I've had quite the journey. But I think people that look at my, follow my career, kind of look back at where I've been, are like, wow, like explain. But yeah, no, experience wise, I mean, just going back, I guess there's no there's no short way to explain. So I'll just kind of give you the full story. So
Let's do
Start
it.
from
coming
the
out of high
beginning.
school, yeah, coming out of high school, went out to St. FX, played two seasons out there. Was loving it. Great program, met some great people, had a great time, lifelong friends to this day. But I knew my path as a quarterback and kind of looking at other guys, and if I wanted to play at the next level or kind of fully reach my potential, was to pursue something down in the States, which is something I always wanted to do. So while I was out there, I was kind of always contacting some schools down there, making workout tapes in the off season, low key, sending it out to some schools and stuff like that. And then just after my last season out there, got an offer from Western Carolina. So that summer, super excited. Had to let my coaches know it was tough, talk to all my friends and stuff like that. And so ended up trying to make the decision to leave. Came back to Calgary, trained that whole summer. Went down there a week before the season starts, found out, I was ineligible to play. So I would have had to sit out for a year and sit out without scholarship. So, being that situation, I was going down there to compete for a job. It just didn't really make sense. So at this point, I'm crushed. I just left St. FX. I'm now back in Calgary. CIS camps have started at this point. Camps in the States have started at this point. So I'm like, damn, like I'm crushed. So, kind of took a day, let it all sink in. Woke up the next day. I'm like, okay, need to make a plan, figure out what's going on. So sent out an email. I probably messaged 8 schools, CIS schools, and just boom, hey, my name's Danté Djan, blah, blah, blah. You might have known me from St. FX, this and that. Here's my situation. Probably an hour later, get a call from Glenn Constantine at Laval. Hey, Danté, we got an opportunity. Great. Talk to him and tells me about opportunity. And at the time, I'm like, oh, Laval, like French, all this and that. But I had the pleasure to work with Glenn and Coach Justin, the offensive coordinator out there with the junior national team in, was it 2013 when I was playing there down in Texas. So I had a relationship with him before. Went over, I was like, so, obviously a big thing going down there would have been the whole French thing. Turns out, they had a 2-year business program that you could go study in English. So I'm like, okay, that could work, blah, blah, blah. But then he mentioned the thing. He's like, okay, would you be open to playing another position? At the time, I'm like, no, not really. But then kind of he talked to me about it. This could be good for your career if you want to have a chance at the next level. At the time, they had Anthony Auclair there, who was playing the tight end position, which is kind of a key position in that offense. You're catching balls, you're getting handoffs, you're blocking. They really showcase a lot of these skill sets. So, I was like, okay, if you can get me into school, I'll consider it. Boom, gets me into school, calls me back an hour. He's like, man, I can have you here. He's like, get on a flight tonight. We'll have you in pads tomorrow. Sit down there, talk it over with my family for about an hour. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Get on a flight, go to there. So I'm in Quebec now. 3 days before I was supposed to be, playing down in Carolina. So, get down. I'm out there in Quebec, and it was awesome to say the least. You know what I mean? So I was down there. I got there about a week late in the camp. Was loving it, learning a new position. Just being in that program was awesome. Like you just kind of grow up, always hearing Laval, and like how they do things, and it was it's just really awesome being there and kind of soaking up and just kind of be a part of that program. And then I also had a friend actually who I was at St. FX who transferred there too. So we were living together. Things were going good. Going into week 2, about the Thursday practice before our week 2 game, have a freak injury, dislocate my knee, tearing all 4 cruciate ligaments in my knee.
Oh God.
So I tear ACL, PCL, MCL.
Oh man.
Like knees, legs sideways. Well, I'm sitting there like, this is not serious. Like as soon as that happened, everything's going through my head.
Yeah.
Boom. In the ambulance for practice. I'm in the hospital, surgery, wake up, just hits me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So, so at this point, it's 2 major things just happened within a month. Mm-hmm. I end up leaving Laval, go back to Calgary, get 2 surgeries. And at this point, I'm like, okay, do I want to come back for football, whatever? And I have to say, Coach Glenn was, a godsend for me, having him at the time and guiding me through that process and kind of giving me everything, I needed. And, he said, if you want to do this and come back, he's like, we'll make sure you have everything you need. We'll make sure we're here for the process. And, I'm not, I'm here for you. So, decided to head back out to Laval that following January and just started my rehab process out there. So ended up missing. So I missed that season. And then the following season, 2017, I missed that also, had 2 more surgeries going in. And then after 4 surgeries, I returned to the field in 2018, which was an amazing feeling for the first time. So this was kind of like 3 years removed almost. Got back on the field 2018. Got to play again, first exhibition game, just like a little emotional. And then I think, going through that whole process just really made me appreciate, the game of football and just being out there and see, how fast things can get taken from you like that. So, had a great year that year, coming back, being able to play. The team won at Vanier that year, which was awesome to be a part of. And then, so that's 2018. But at this point, you remember, I was in this 2-year certificate program in English. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm now 5 years in, I got to finish my degree. So I'm thinking, okay, this is it. I'm ready to say goodbye to football, go finish my school, I'll go back home, whatever. So looking to finish school, and I'm looking for a school that can take both of my credits to finish my degree that I started at St. FX. I was thinking about moving to Toronto because I have some family in Toronto. So I sent some my stuff to some schools in Toronto, U of T. I sent one to Guelph, and then Calgary.
Yeah.
Little do I know at the time, I start looking at Guelph, and then I see Ryan Sheahan there, who I actually have a previous relationship when he was at Calgary. He just took the job. So reached out to him because I said, I'm applying to the school. I got this extra year, and he gives me a call right away. He's like, man, what would you think about coming back, playing some quarterback again?
Oh,
to me, I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity. It's kind of like a redemption, kind of, get back, play one more time and all this. So I was like, if I can get back into school for sure. He was looking to do big things with the program, and he's doing great things with the program, but he was looking for a couple like older guys that have been a part of, some winning culture and stuff like that. So I was like, I can, I got family close to Guelph, like 30 minutes away, so I can go down there and make it happen. So I ended up getting into school. Finished my degree there, played that last season at Guelph, which was awesome. And then just, getting to work with him, football guru, an offensive guru. And, it's, proof is in the pudding with him, like the offenses that he's built and been a part of and the quarterbacks that he's gotten to work with. It was really, a blessing to be able to, learn from him and pick his mind. And I think I don't think I realized how much I learned from him until I actually started coaching again too, and how much stuff I bring from his offenses and, plays and concepts and stuff that he taught me. It's really, I really realized now, okay, I really learned a lot. So, for me, it's a great opportunity. I've got to, be a part of and learn, 2 high-powered, respected Canadian offenses and great coaches. So, not your traditional career path, but looking back, I really, with all the adversity and everything and, the places I've been and the opportunities to be able to play for these coaches and these programs, really learned a lot and can, give a lot to the kids and, tell them about these experiences and have a lot to look back on and tell them about.
Man, Danté, what a story, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, no, it's I hate saying it, but because there's no easy way to say it, but when people hear it, they're like, oh wow. But
man, it's an appreciation, honestly, coming from looking at it from my view here. One thing I want to add to that is you already talked about that adversity, and not only as a player, but as someone who is being coached, you are coaching someone, having a coach who's been through that adversity and is able to kind of, everyone has to go through adversity to get that mindset, but also to be coached and told about those processes and that mental toughness. Yeah. Such a big deal, man. And all the wealth of the knowledge coming from playing 2 different positions and, quarterback position at the end there, also learning from Ryan Sheahan. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Now, sorry. Now that I'm done all that, I'm going to jump into the next question here. So this one's interesting to me. like I said before, I really love the quarterback position. And this really talks about how the quarterback position is looked at today. It's kind of more unique. You know, back in the past, it was more the pocket passer. That's what you wanted all the time. And, you know, but how do you work with each individual skill set now for quarterbacks? Are there certain traits or quirks you are trying to correct versus letting them keep because it works for them? Because like, if I can dive a little deeper, sorry, I keep going on a rant here, but like some quarterbacks, you know, different throwing angles, but might affect it differently. But you also want to keep some of that, as Ryan would say, cowboy in them to go make the big plays and such, right? So where's that fine line?
I mean, for me, when I first started work with my quarterbacks, I don't think there's a cookie cutter, you know, recipe for all of them. I think obviously, like, right, there's different quarterbacks that have different motions, and that works for them, right? There's not one way, you know what I mean? And you can also mess up a quarterback's motion by giving them that cookie cutter. Okay, all my quarterbacks throw this way. It might not work for everybody, right? So when I first look at my quarterbacks, the goal for me is to make them as efficient as possible. And I make them as efficient as a thrower. And in terms of, you know, energy transfer, okay, where are they driving their power from? Okay, are they utilizing all the power they could be? For me, I think a lot of quarterbacks that I work with, it starts at the base, where I think needs a lot of correction and getting that weight transfer through the hips and stuff like that. As far as arm angle, like I feel like today it's a little bit more negotiable than it was before. I think, you know, the coaches that I had growing up, everything's over the top and we're throwing like, you know, a pitcher half the time, right? So, but I mean, for me, I you know, this past years, I've learned a lot just in terms of, you know, different throwing motions and studying these things and talking to guys like Tyler Nickel and how he works with his quarterbacks and just, you know, I'm up on the phone, you know, at night. My girlfriend probably hates me, but I'm just watching all different types of throwers, whether it's baseball. Okay, understanding why a baseball pitcher pitches different than a football player. Okay, why does that work for a baseball player, not a football player, right? Understanding those two different mechanics. Okay, why is this quarterback able to drive the ball with a low arm angle opposed to a quarterback with this arm angle, right? Understanding those things. And okay, so when I have a quarterback with a lower arm angle, okay, how can I utilize this because he's comfortable in this position, but still get the most power out, right? So with my quarterbacks, I really like to, I mean, the first day when I work with them, I'll give them pointers, but I film everything. I like to film them from different angles. Okay, how do they throw? Okay, how do they throw the deep ball? How do they throw the shallow ball? How do they throw the medium ball? Okay, what works for them? What are they struggling with? Are they losing power on their deep ball, but can drive the shallow ball? Why is that? So I'd like to break down that film, understand, compare it, and then come back the next day and then, okay, give them these pointers, try to help them become more efficient. You know, if there's things that, you know, that I'm trying to correct, but it's just not clicking with them, okay, is this not going to work? Do we have to find a different way? But, you know, for me, I think, you know, it's to make them as most efficient as they can be. Every quarterback has different traits that they're more comfortable in and, you know, different ways that they're doing, and just, you know, make them as efficient as possible and help them become the best that they can be. Because I'm a firm believer there's no cookie cutter way. And, you know, growing up, I've also felt that way. I've worked with coaches, you know, when I was younger, and they want me to force me to throw this way. When naturally I kind of had a little bit of lower arm angle, but was able to drive that ball in that way. So.
That's really cool. And I guess a follow-up question to that is, have you ever had a kid come in that just had like some kind of Tim Tebow looking motion and you're like, we got to get to the bottom of it?
Yeah, no, I've had some guys where, you know, they throw two footballs. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Got some work to do. Yeah.
I'm like, man, have you ever played defense? But no, it's crazy. Like what I've been able to do, or what these guys have been able to do when they listen, how fast they can soak things up, especially at the young age. When guys get a little bit older, you get a little bit more set in your ways. I was like that personally. I had some, you know, some bad tendencies that I took throughout university, and still to this day, you know, I like to throw by myself, actually watch myself throw, just because it helps me, you know, study it and apply it to my quarterbacks. But to this day, that have stuck. But it was things that I corrected at the right age. It probably wouldn't have stuck, and I've been able to fix it. But
that's cool. You mentioned that, actually talking about your playing days and how you were taught, because the next question here is like, kind of, what are some current trends you're seeing with young players that are maybe different from the way that, you know, you were taught growing up, as far as whether that's in the mindset of players and this kind of next generation, or just kind of what you're being taught at the quarterback position?
I mean, trends right now, what I have with young athletes, I think the specialization is a huge thing. I just to start with young athletes. And I think I learned a lot just kind of being around like the 7-on-7 kids that I coach and the football and the high school kids I've been starting to work with. And you talk to parents and like, okay, he just plays football. I'm like, he's 12 years old. Like, like, I think, you talk to a lot of these coaches, and I mean, going through university, personally, the best athletes that I've played with and I've seen are the guys that when we go in the spring and we're playing pickup ball and they're dropping, 40. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Okay, this guy can ball. Okay, makes sense, right? So I think, specialization is a huge thing. Like, if you're like, there's no reason for a 12-year-old just be playing quarterback. Go play basketball, go play soccer, go play, baseball. Mm-hmm. Mix it up. I think the best athletes do that. And to be honest too, quarterbacks too, like if you can at a young age, play some defense, play some receiver, mix it up, right? I think you just gain like a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of skills from all those positions. And I think it kind of translates in today's, you see it in the NFL and in college now. A lot of these guys, a lot of these quarterbacks, could play any position, right? And a lot of them did growing up. And I think it's, it really helps your development. And that's a big thing I notice, and I like to push on my quarterbacks, It's funny. Some of my quarterbacks, so I take them. We do gym sessions where we work on stuff, mechanics, and different drills to help them, power development and things like that. But I have them jump rope at the beginning, and there's always like 2 or 3 guys, and like I'm like, man, have you you jumped rope and you're like, have you like? I'm like, gee. They're like, oh no, I've never done. I'm like, oh my goodness, you played soccer? Like, no. I'm like, okay. So, but yeah, no, it's funny actually. A lot of my guys, so I get them. I'm a big fan of boxing and gotten into boxing just for training and stuff like that. But what I've learned actually, the footwork translates straight into quarterbacking. So a lot of my quarterbacks, I've actually had them sign up for some boxing classes just to work on footwork and different stuff like that. If you actually really break it down, how you throw a straight right, and the energy transfers to the back foot, to the hips, to the arm, is very similar to that of a quarterback, right? So. Just mixing it up. I think that's huge for quarterbacks, and, finding different ways, and don't specialize too early. You know what I mean? Just become the best athlete you can and learn the most and soak up everything.
That's incredible. Zach's a huge boxing guy. He did it lots growing up. So I'm sure he's pretty stoked to hear that.
Get in the ring, man.
So sweet.
Man, he's got to spar with Shane Richards already, man. We had him on for episode 100.
I've been in the ring with him, man. All
oh my gosh. I'm retired.
Yeah,
I'm retired.
Shane owes me a couple ribs, so
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I love it, man. That's so awesome.
Danté, switching to kind of the mental aspect, what are some of the biggest things you're trying to instill in your young guys, whether they're 12 years old or 18 years old, ready to head off to university this fall, as far as what it takes mentally? We talked about your journey, and Zach mentioned how much your adversity will help you kind of deliver that message, because I think the players you coach can really trust you. What are you trying to instill to them? Like, hey, be prepared for XYZ when you get to the next level, because it's not going to be easy. What are some of those things you're trying to talk to them about?
I mean, for me, for them, obviously, mental toughness is huge, and I think not even being mentally tough, but being resilient. How to deal with failure. Hey, quarterback at position, I don't care how successful you are, where you've been. Any quarterback has had to deal with failure at some level, right? It's the hardest position you're going to do in sport. And hey, when you're on, you're the guy, you're the man. When something's going wrong, who do they look to? The quarterback, right? So, and also too, as a quarterback, I tell these guys, like, your journey is different. Your journey is different than your receiver friend, right? Your journey is different than your friend who plays running back, or your friend that plays, DB, right? So, you gotta, chase an opportunity, but you gotta realize a lot of quarterbacks path, to the next level or whatever they want to go, or whatever, whether it's pro or it's university, like, it's not straight. You look at a lot of these guys, Jalen Hurts, or, like, the transfer portal is crazy for quarterbacks, right? And, a lot of quarterbacks, they got to find the place that fits for them, the offense that fits, the coach that fits. And once they get there, roll with it and don't look back. So, for me, I think it's for them just saying, like, hey, you're going to have to deal with something. You're going to have to deal, I don't care, any level, you're going to have some failure. How are you going to, how are you going to wake up when you do, when you face that? Are you going to put your tail down behind your legs? Are you going to man up, hit that and, get something out of it and become better? So, personally, the quarterbacks that I've seen, that are the ones I've been able to overcome. Good friend of mine that grew up with, Chris Merchant. quarterback at Western. You know, a lot of people. I'm behind the scenes. I'm a huge fan of Chris. You know, we're great friends, obviously off the field. But a lot of people, you know, see him at University of Western winning head Creighton's and stuff like that. You know, I've seen the adversity that he's had to go through. You know, he's switched schools. I've seen him switch teams like that. You know what I mean? People doubting him, all that, him coming, you know, through his progression, you know, him going to Buffalo, okay, not working on Buffalo, boom, finding his spot in Western, going out there, balling out. You know, same thing, him right now, I think he was over in Europe. I was just talking to him, actually. He, after having a great half season, tore his ACL. You know, so we were on the phone. He's actually has the same surgeon that I had, so we were on the phone talking about that. And, you know, seeing him, you know, same thing, coming back and, you know, going to go back at it. So, you know, the things behind the scenes that I don't think people see. I think a lot of kids, they look at, they see all these quarterbacks shining. Okay, you know, Pat Mahomes is so great, or they look at these one guys, you know, everything worked out. But you gotta realize there's so many quarterbacks, right, that have, you know, gone through their whole journey and made it, right? The path is never straight. You're gonna have to bounce back, and you know what I mean. At the end of the day, those things are gonna make you stronger, right? And I think coaches, you know what I mean, see that too. Okay, how's this guy, has this guy bounced back from an injury? Wow, okay, he came back, he did this. Okay, he's gone here, stuck with it, right? So I think just resiliency and, you know, just realizing you're a quarterback. It's like no other position. And also there's one of you on the field, right? It's not like, you know, your friend who plays receiver, there's four receiver, right? You got to make sure, and you got to be strategic in where you're going, right? Are you just going to this big school just to say, okay, wow, I went to this big school, but I'm never going to play? Or do you want to play at a smaller school, right, with a coach that, you know, or an offense that suits your system or suits your style of play, you know what I mean, and become the better quarterback or get the most out of what you can become, and then, you know, slingshot to the next level. So, you know, that's something I like to tell my young guys and, you know, prepare them for, because I think it's inevitable that they're going to face it at some point.
Man, it jumps right back to that adversity we were talking about, right? And I love that. You know, one of our biggest mandates here on the pod is talking about the grassroots level and, you know, hopefully getting the word out there and helping the grassroots grow here in Canada for football. Saying that, what can you see for coaches? What can they do better at the grassroots level here in Canada to help develop the game even more?
I think at the grassroots level, I would say, I mean, personally, speaking from experience, the coaches that I had growing up, I've had some great coaches. I also had the opportunity to go, you know, I mean, down in the States and learn from some coaches and stuff like that, and working with tons of great coaches. But I'd say at the grassroots level, I think everything is very old school and it's not developing with the times. The game is different than it was 10 years ago, let alone 20, 30 years ago, right? A lot of these coaches are, you know what I mean, haven't played since the 80s or the 90s, right? They're busting out the same playbook. They're teaching their quarterbacks the same way, right? So I think at that level, it's important, you know what I mean, that they develop with the times too, and they learn, okay, understand the game's changing, techniques changing, right? Players are changing the way that they approach, right? So as much as players evolving, the game is evolved, the coaches got to evolve at that level too. And I think that's up to, you know, whether it's clinics, stuff like that, or younger guys coming back and being involved. You know, would be huge. And I think, you know, which has been a really awesome to be a part of and kind of see what has had an impact has been 7-on-7 football. What Coach Keon Raymond has been doing.
Yes.
Like bringing that game and having the kids involved with that. And it's been amazing, I think, it just in terms of development. And I think that game really forces, you know, receivers and quarterbacks to understand concepts, coverages. Okay, why do I run this route different against this coverage? Okay, why does it, opposed to in high school football, I think it's a lot of it just athletes going out and, okay, we're going to put this guy against this and just run the ball 20 times. We're gonna, right. So really down in the States, because down in the States, they're playing 7-on-7 football. Right. And I for quarterbacks, it's huge. You know what I mean? And I think that's been great for the quarterbacks that I had. You know, there wasn't a high school season, but hey, we were playing 7-on-7 football all summer. We were playing summer, all fall, and then we just had another 7-on-7 season. And seeing the progression of quarterbacks that I've had go through that and just the knowledge that they have from a playbook standpoint and concepts and just football has been crazy. You know what I mean? So I think things like that are huge. The 7-on-7 game has been growing like crazy across Canada. I think it's really picking up. I think it's great too with, you know, especially at this time, I think parents are a little bit like weary to put their kids in the football. And I think 7-on-7 is a great transition too. For them, it'll kind of keep the game alive because I think the numbers are down in like CBFA and stuff like that. Like it's not like it was even 10 years ago. So I think it's great that, you know, things like that are going on and seeing like the young coaches get involved too. like this year in 7-on-7, like we had, you know, Kamar Jordan was out there, Hergy Mayala, you know, we had Shane Richards was out there, like, you know, big names across the board. You got Keon Raymond out there, you know, guys that have played not 30 years ago, but they're playing or played, you know what I mean, last season or whatever, right? So you got, you know, amazing coaches, stuff like that, giving back to the game. And I think that will really, you know, help grow things and help football at the grassroots level. So.
Man, I love it. And I agree with all that. I can't wait to get up from Medicine Hat to come see this 7-on-7. I want to come watch a game. Steve talks about it all the time.
Yeah, check us out, man. We got some big things going, and I can't say enough. Big props to like what Keon Raymond's been doing. Like it's been amazing, and the stuff that he's doing, and for the players and growing the game out, and bringing the right guys on board's been awesome. So, like we're this year we're putting together a travel team. We're having tryouts for it at the end of July. So we're going to take a travel team next January. We're going to go down to Los Angeles, playing a tournament down there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
So yeah, that team. So we'll have a U18 team, a U16 and U12 even actually this year.
Right.
So we'll be down in LA end of January. We'll be in Seattle end of February, and then we'll be taking the team down to a huge tournament in Vegas in March. So, you know, just having that for the guys, and, you know what I mean, in the off season when traditionally, you know, guys are just sitting around or just lifting weights, you know, it's going to be huge. And just getting some of those guys, you know what I mean, down there competing against guys in the States and getting them in front of some different coaches. And I think, you know, it's awesome for that level. And it's, you know, something that I didn't have when I was, you know, even around, whether I don't know how many years ago. It wasn't that long, but.
Danté, the biggest thing too that we hear a lot of is it's down south. It's like a religion down there. You're doing it all year round consistently. And just hearing about this is exciting because that's one step getting to that competitive level.
Sure. And like I tell my quarterbacks are serious about it. Like they think, okay, well, I'm the best quarterback here. I'm like, man, don't compare yourself to the guys here. You need to be comparing yourself to the guys down south, right? I don't care if you're the best quarterback throwing in this group. You know what I mean? There's a kid down in Texas or a kid down in California that's, you know what I mean, been doing this since he's, you know, 12 years old or whatever, and he's doing it right now. So, but I think it's awesome. Like you see, I mean, the quarterback coaches that are around the country right now, like it's awesome. Like you got guys, you know, out east, QB movement is great. I mean, like there's this stuff out east that's been great. Out west, you know, Cole Meyer, he's a great quarterback coach, friend of mine, Axel's doing his thing. So that's huge because even when I was coming up, there wasn't a lot of that. So like it's evolving, and I think it's gonna be huge for Canadian quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Growing up and you know, their development, and you're starting to see a lot of guys. Like there's a lot of guys out east that are, you know, going down south and picking up big offers from, you know, some big schools. So,
man. I love it. We're getting close to the end of the interview here, and I know you've listened to a few of them, so you might know the questions that are coming up.
I looked at the time, and I was like, okay, 45 minutes, okay.
I get to ask the first question here, Danté, and I really like this one. It's kind of the cliche one where we, you know, you hear it everywhere, but what's the greatest lesson football has taught you?
For me, I think resiliency, as I was talking about before, but I think football is the game of life, right? Like it really is. And I think, you know, I mean, there's a reason why, you know, I mean, even companies, right, like hiring football players or, you know, I mean, quarterbacks and stuff that people have been through adversity. And I think, you know, I mean, it's really, I think what I've gone through, speaking from a personal perspective, through my career, you know, a lot of that stuff kind of translates into life, you know what I mean? Getting knocked down, having to get back up again, being able to rebuild yourself, right? Learning things about yourself, you know what I mean? Learning about dedication, learning, you know what I mean? You might put everything into something, but this might not work out, but then boom, this door opens. You know what I mean? That's kind of how my career went, and that's kind of how my life's went, you know what I mean? Some of the connections that I've made, or even the places that I've been at, you know what I mean, this school, and now this person is here, you know what I mean? Or being at all these different programs, now I have a wealth of access to different coaches that I've built great relationships with, or players that are at different places right now. So now, you know what I mean? For example, I've, you know, my offensive coordinator at St. FX is now the coach at Queens. I have a quarterback that wants to go to Queens. I can call this guy. So, you know what I mean? Everything comes full circle, I think. And you gotta realize that, you know, everything, nothing's ever a loss. And there's times in my career, like I look back and I'm like, wow, like I've almost quit 3 or 4 times, but I stuck with it and it's paid off. You know what I mean? I've had great experiences from it, whether it's from going down south and not working out and then being sitting there and okay, feeling like a loser. But then you know what? It's not over. Go doing this, go out here, go live out, get injured. Okay, it's all done. There's no point coming back, you know what I mean? Being able to be a part of a couple of championship teams and then, you know what I mean? Going to Guelph and playing quarterback again and stuff like that and just meeting friends and stuff like that. I think, be resilient and never look at anything as a loss. Everything's an opportunity. And you might not realize, what the blessing is in it. You know what I mean? It might always look, oh, nothing good came from that. But then 5 years down the road, you really look back and say, wow, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have it any other way. And you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's maybe not where I want to be in my career or not where I saw myself, where it is now. But if I look back, I honestly would have never changed things. And I look back and I think I'm truly blessed. And, not a lot of people have had, my career path and got to meet, go to these different places, make these connections and have, do all these different things. So, I think for me, it's just, you can learn so much. It's life, you know what I mean? And all that stuff translates into life, right? So, learn from every experience and, keep on moving, I guess.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. As cliche as the question is, we enjoy every single answer and just hearing our guests and especially yourself, comment on how football's impacted them and how you're translating that message to the future generation and all the connections you've made. Like, it just really makes you appreciate how special the game of football is.
Sure.
For our last question here, I'm sure you've seen it coming because you've checked out our work, but Danté, does ketchup belong on craft dinner?
Hell no, you nasty, man.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. That is right.
Oh man, I haven't had
Steve,
much
it's
success
time.
with that one. Yeah,
It's time.
Nah,
now.
for me, man, nah, I can't do it.
Do you have anything you put on your craft dinner if you eat that at all? A lot of people sometimes say they don't have it.
Just the cheesy stuff and the little milk.
Little milk,
Yes.
all right, yeah.
That's
Just
right.
the classic way, man. I appreciate that.
Hey man, just right. Just
That's
how
the way it's
supposed
supposed to happen.
to.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Take notes, Steve.
Yeah, I should. I'm losing battle here. Danté, we're at the end of the interview, my friend. Where can people find your work? Game Primed, if you want people following your personal account too. I know you're really active.
Yeah,
on
no,
there.
my quarterback account, Game Primed. So that's just like game and then primed, like prime with a D. You can find me on there. And then if you want to find my personal account, I'm also on there too. So
awesome, man. We'll link that all down in the show notes. And we
Sure.
appreciate you coming on, Danté. It was a pleasure. And
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. And it's shout out to you guys too. I didn't really look into what you guys were doing, and then you reached out to me for the interview, and I kind of looked at the interviews you had, and actually watched a couple. I watched the first one to figure out what kind of answers or what kind of questions you would be asking, and then I ended up watching like 4 more just because it was really good what you guys were doing, and the conversations were awesome. So
appreciate
you know what I mean, for in terms of growing the game up here, and bringing it, a light to all areas of football in Canada is huge. So you guys are doing the game, a great service, and
Thank you.
props to you guys. Man.
Thank you, man. We love to hear that, and you're welcome back anytime. We'll chat some more quarterback stuff.
Sure,
Maybe a little clinic with Tyler or something like that.
I'll be happy to be back with you guys anytime, man. So
awesome. For Zach and Steven, this is episode 119 of Third and Wrong, and we'll catch you next week.